Good morning, everybody. I'm Steve Scabla with Vaughn Construction Company, and I've been with Vaughn since 1988. Former Vice President and now Pre-Construction Director for Vaughn Construction. I have a compadre with me today on the operations side.
Good morning, I'm Brett Fairman. I've been with Vaughn for almost 20 years, primarily in the San Antonio side.
What we'd like to do today is kind of give you a report on what a difference 3/4 of a year makes in Texas. Everybody has been seeing escalation going up, and we've actually had quite a number of projects that have hard bid over the last year and a half on the CM end of it. So we have some pretty good historical data on what costs are for some of the materials that are being put in our buildings. And as you can see, kind of like on the hard bid end of this, over this time period, we've seen an increase of 45.21% just in material costs for rebar in the state of Texas. Conversely, with the escalation of structural steel, miscellaneous steel, and deck material, we kind of looked at some projects that we have done, and these are 4 concrete structures that we had that are 250,000 square feet up to 450,000 square feet with structural steel penthouses and miscellaneous steel shapes for hang-down steel and other structures that are supporting the building. And as you can see, in Houston back in December of 20, we were paying $3,775 a ton for fabricated material. A month earlier in Bryan College Station, we had the same kind of costing, but the difference between the Houston one and the Bryan College Station was we had to buy American. So we are paying a little bit more for buy American steel. And conversely, if you look at the Houston one here that was bid in August, there's 2 differences on the San Antonio one. One, there is a lot of hollow structural steel shapes on that facility. And then also, it is also buy American compared to the Houston one. So kind of looking from the low to the high, we're looking at an increase of almost 75% in material costs. And again, with a minimum of 300 tons on similar projects here. Structural steel and rebar are not the only things that we're seeing the material cost increases on. We're looking at an increase of 74% in ductwork material. Now, depending on the poundage per square foot that you have, whether it's a school or hospital, whatever, you could see anywhere in an increase of $2 to $4 per square foot for your HVAC system. One of the projects that we have in the Texas Medical Center is a large hospital facility, and we got some design assist subcontractors on it. And back in January, they were paying $1.05 a pound for aluminum material. And as of August of 21, they're paying now $1.59 a pound. Now, the projections that they're getting from some of the experts is that aluminum material is expected to climb possibly to $1.75 to $2 a pound within the next 6 to 12 months. One thing that has really hit home on a lot of people is the drywall and metal studs and acoustical ceiling costs for projects. We have 2 similar hospital projects. The San Antonio Hospital, we had 4 contractors budget our 100% DD drawings, and Brett and myself did a very, very thorough pricing exercise with the drywall subcontractors to make sure that there was no scope that was missed. And in January, February of 2021, the average cost for the drywall and acoustical ceilings was $15,500,000 on those 4 subcontractors in that area. Kind of fast forward to the same project on 100% CDs that came out for bid in July of 2021. The same 4 subcontractors bid the project with hard bids. The average bid from those 4 subcontractors was $19,800,000. Now, there was some design enhancement that was done from the 100% DD to the 100% CDs. So we figured we would get the value of it, back that out, and actually show what the hard bid average would be, which we think would have been $18,804,000. This was an open specification, 3 manufacturers listed that were acceptable for ceilings, model numbers given, different manufacturers for metal studs were allowed in the project. And we saw with that hard bidding that there was a 21.13% increase in San Antonio on a large size project of 400,000 square feet Conversely, on a Dallas project, it's 400,000 square foot. At 100% SDs, we went out for a budget in January of 2021, 4 subcontractors again, and the average budget was $13,056,762. And I will want to say that between these two projects, the San Antonio project had some floors that were 20 foot and 18 foot, where the average floor height on the Dallas project is 16 foot. So that's why you're probably on a similar size project seeing a little bit of a difference in the cost per square foot and overall cost because of the floor to floor height. That same project at 100% DDs that was just put out in August of 2021, same 4 contractors budgeting, scope creep taken out, we were just under $15 million. So in the Dallas area, it was about a 14% increase that we were seeing on that type of scope of work. When is all of this escalation going to stop? You know, the predictions are all over the map. We at first were told it would probably be the first quarter of 2022. Now, the more and more we read and get into it, some are saying with the stimulus bill that will be coming out and some of the infrastructure projects that may be coming out, we may not see a recovery or see a downturn until maybe even the third quarter of 2022. And one of the things that we are hearing from some owners is that, you know, they're trying to compare, and we think it's a mistake to compare the 2008, 2009 market downturn from the housing collapse to the 2021 pandemic market. And the reason I say that is there has been a huge labor loss in the construction industry in the years of 2009 to 2020, where all trades have been losing personnel, not only to retirement, but some people have just left the industry. So, and we are not replacing the people back into the industry with the same skills as the people that are leaving the industry. So let's talk about the giants in Texas that have long arms and huge appetites. We've got Amazon, Samsung, Microsoft, Tesla, Google. They are here. They're here to stay. They're building, and they are drawing labor to them, and they're enticing the labor market. So how do we compete? You know, if you really look at these two giants right here, Samsung and Tesla, Samsung's fighting Tesla over the labor in the Austin market. You know, the initial offer was $3,000 per month per person for travel distance of up to 150 miles. Then they pushed that per diem to $5,000 a month per person to entice more labor to their job sites. You know, Tesla, on the other hand, is trying to fight that by saying that we'll give you unlimited overtime if you want to come work for us. So, you know, how do we compete with that? And, you know, I don't think, and from what we've heard and kind of read, you know, Tesla's not totally fully ramped up yet. So they, you know, continue to escalate and entice the labor over to their job sites. We're hearing the effects in Dallas and the San Antonio markets from mechanical contractors. We had one project that was going to bid in San Antonio. We had 6 mechanical contractors that were going to bid it about a week and a half prior to the project bidding. 3 of those contractors pulled off of the job because they were on a specific list to bid some Microsoft projects. So it is affecting the bidding market, and it is also affecting the amount of participation you may be getting in some of your projects. We're also hearing that Tesla intends to put their SpaceX rocket factory next to the electrical vehicle factory in Austin. So they're going to be around for a while. Now, one of the things that you really should think about is you've got these 5 giants that are over there drawing labor in, they're drawing families in. My daughter is in the real estate industry. I'm hearing of a tremendous amount of people from other states, especially California, moving over into the Austin area, coming in and buying houses for cash. So when you start seeing an influx of people coming into an area, you then have what is known as the potential support projects to actually accommodate those people moving into the area. So you're going to have medical facilities that are going to be built, urgent care facilities, schools, daycares, road infrastructure, roads, retail, fire station, etc. So it's not only the giants that are building, but it's also the effects that they're going to have on local economy building other projects. One of the other things that I want to point out to everybody is the labor is mission critical in the construction industry right now, especially in Texas and in probably around the country. Labor is becoming in short supply. What I've done here is kind of pulled the Davis-Bacon-Harris County classification of what you would pay an asbestos worker, caulker, drywaller, form worker for outside, a roofer, tile setter, and a truck driver. And this is the minimum wage that you would pay those workers on a Davis-Bacon project. And those have no fringe benefits to them. They're just what you would pay the worker. You know, so we are in competition. And when I say we're in competition, let's look at the non-construction industry fighting for that same labor. I stopped and got a cup of coffee the other day, and right on the front of the convenience store was $300 to $500 sign-on cash and $15 or $17 an hour for a convenience worker. If you've stopped at a Buc-ee's lately and looked above the gas pump, you'll see a $17 an hour plus fringes and vacation that Buc-ee's is trying to draw labor in also. And then Amazon has been advertising on national commercials $16 to $22 an hour throughout the United States for warehouse workers and drivers. So not only are we in competition, subcontractors, general contractors for labor, but we're also in competition for the non-construction industry labor fight. And if you really think about it, if I could get $16 or $17 an hour at Buc-ee's with fringes and vacation, why do I want to go and work in the construction industry outside for $15 an hour in 95-degree weather? So it's something that our industry really needs to take a look at. So how do we fight some of these escalation problems? Let's look at considerations for, combating present escalation. Well, one of the things that we always suggest is no sole sourcing of specifications. And I know it's rough when you've got a facility or you have a campus that has either a fire alarm or HVAC controls that are sole sourced. But if there's any way possibly of doing back netting that you can open up those specifications, try and do that. Consider alternate materials that can perform the same function. Perfect example on this would be if you have a project that has a tremendous amount of chilled water piping and large diameter piping up to 30 inches in diameter, consider using Aquatherm piping as an alternate material against the steel. On a project that we just looked at, it was actually about a $500,000 savings to use Aquatherm piping in lieu of steel. So look at alternative materials. Consider alternate installation methods. Everybody knows about ProPress for domestic water, but a lot of people are not using ProPress on hydronic piping, and you can use ProPress up to 4-inch diameter piping on some of your hydronic systems, and it will save you some money. So look at some possible alternate materials, alternate installation methods. Consider design assist. This is one way of combating the escalation and keeping on top of things, is allowing a design assist subcontractor to come in and help with the architect in keeping costs down and work with the owner to help keep costs down. There's two ways you can do design assist. You can do design assist for pre-con only and not commit the overall project to them, or you can do design assist with pre-con and they get the project if they can keep it within the budget. There are several ways of looking at this on the design assist, and hopefully I think that Blair and them may have a presentation on the possibility of design assist soon. Also look at ways to prefabricate off-site. Sometimes it's easier to prefabricate off-site, productivity and production, and it takes less people to prefabricate off-site and then just lift it into place when you get it to the job site. Right now, what we think we're seeing, depending on what part of the state of Texas you're in, we think that you're probably going to see anywhere from a 6 to 12% bottom line increase since the beginning of this year to the end of 2021. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Brett to talk about some of the lead times that he's seeing on the operations side of it, and kind of what we've done as a company looking at some of the items in a project.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. It's been a rough year. It's not just been on the pricing side, but as you know, it's also been on the procurement side. And so the next couple slides we put together to show some of the differences on the major materials in construction from what we saw pre-COVID to where lead times are currently at. And this is one of those things that it's almost changing weekly. Some of these are getting better and some of them are getting farther out. But some of the big ones, as you know, on the pricing side are also affected on the procurement. The cold form metal frame studs, used to be 2 to 3 week lead time. We're 12 weeks out now at best case on getting studs. Hollow metal door frames used to be, a month out. They're at 16 weeks now. Joist and deck is one that's gotten just extremely strung out. We've actually worked on some projects and changing from having joist materials to using actual structural members in order to alleviate having the lead time issues. But joist and deck right now are running 30 weeks long. Sheathing is also, 4 to 5 months out. Electrical gear used to be 12 to 14 weeks. We're seeing 26 weeks plus on electrical gear now. Roof insulation used to be something that really was never a procurement issue. And, recently, as of this past week, they're telling us 4 to 6 months before we're getting roofing insulation. So, and it's not just one manufacturer, it's all of them. So unfortunately, this year has been rough on the procurement side to where, the supply side is not able to keep up with the demand. And, manufacturing is bottlenecked, and not only are you getting your materials way later than you plan on, but a lot of times you're only getting half of the materials that you originally ordered. So it's making for coming up with some contingency plans and really looking at your schedules to see where your critical parts are going to be at and trying to work sequences around your material lead times in order to keep things on track.